Hi everyone, my name is Kendrick and welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I get to interview Nicôlas. So Nick, welcome man.
Oh,
So Nick, can you give us your full type?
um, double feminine T-E-S-E, play, consume, sleep, blast.
So you are a jumper ENTJ, is that correct?
Yeah, like double feminine Shan is a
Right,
way of looking at it.
yeah, you are Shan, exactly, except for double
Yeah,
feminine,
yeah,
like
yeah.
a less aggressive version. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Um, so how did you feel? What did you think when you got your results back?
I was mind blown. I thought that I was probably like an ISTP or something. I was thinking maybe also I could be an IJ. Like I don't feel like I have massive decider problems, so I was like, I'm probably double deciding or something. Um, and as it got closer, I think I subconsciously started realizing I thought I was like sleep blast, and then I was like, no, I have to be blast sleep. I'm definitely DE. Like as it came closer, I was like, I'm definitely DE. I just realized in my brain that I was DE as I got closer to the date. Even though a lot of people think that I feel like an IP.
I mean, if we're using the looks game, you don't look like an ENTJ at all. So, but
Yeah, no, I know.
right, but would you say from a looks perspective, like typically the EJs have like a more blocky box shaped head. So would you say you have like a squarish, cube like head, would you say?
Not really.
Yeah.
It's subjective, I guess, but I think I've got like a small head for an EJ.
Yeah, that is weird. That is weird. I think that's why I think people would not think you're an EJ because, you like have a smallish head, for an EJ.
Yeah, and I also have masculine DI, so I can kind of see that. Like I've got that masculine punch when I do push back on the tribe, so I can kind of see how people would see me being um, DI. And also if I'm in the demon swing a lot, like when I first joined the community, I think I was like in a sort of bad place in my life, so I was just like going to everyone like, fuck everybody's opinion and stuff. So maybe that was part of it. But I'm not sure, it's all conjecture.
So now that you got your official type, like what's your opinion of it? And do you think it fits? Does it work for you? Does it make sense?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Like there's things that are weird, like how you interpret what the functions are and stuff is like sort of up to you. And people see things differently. Like a lot, like I spoke with Benjamin and he was like pretty unsure. He was like in the description, it ended up with I'm seeing a weird mix of TE and TI because every time I was doing something TE, then I'd like then go to TI, then I'd do something TE and stuff. And I kind of see myself doing that. But I think like the EJ demons with like the tidal waves of like the life problems of what an EJ would be, I have those, I think. Um, and if I look at my life more broad scope, more than just like over the course of like a year, over the course of my life, my big tidal waves are like me coming back out and punching out with DI and sort of like having those big EJ tidal waves.
Well, why don't we go with that then? Let's talk about your EJ tidal waves. What kind of tidal waves would you have as an EJ? Is it more like identity crisis? Would you say? Like, is that the kind of?
No, sort of like place in the tribe, I'd say. Like I'll overextend and I'll do DE all day and I'll like do this for you and I'll do that for you and blah blah blah. And then I'll like realize I'm not getting what I want out of this situation. And then I'll try and assert what I want. And then if the tribe pushes back against me, then I just go berserk. And I go for like IP mode.
So do you get like you know resentment, self-loathing, for serving the time too much and feeling like no one is reciprocating
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
stuff that you've been doing. Like you feel like it's all you're giving everything, and people are just screwing you left and right.
Yeah, yeah. And then I get like really angry about it and I start blaming people. Or historically I have. Um, Shan said I got typed via a call that you there wanted to like try a typing session on me.
Uh-huh.
And Shan said that I was like I had some darkness to me or something as an EJ. So maybe like I don't really do EJ stuff that much at the moment or anymore. I'm getting back into it. I'm becoming more DE. I'm playing more with the tribe and stuff. But I've thought that I was definitely like demon play or something
Yeah.
because I don't really do the play thing stereotypically that much.
Would you say you have like that Jim Carrey syndrome? He's an EJ, he's an ENTJ. He's also double feminine, I think, and he's been a comedian doing things for people his whole life, and then at the second half of his life, he's kind of became a painter. Like People thought he went crazy when he did that, and uh,
Right.
yeah, do you feel like you kind of had that kind of like swing, where you were kind of like the comedian, the guy that everyone liked, but then deep down inside you felt like resentful, like you didn't really like putting forward like a fake facade of you, or a facade that got you the tribe validation, because that's what Jim Carrey said,
That's really, really interesting. I had no idea Jim Carrey was an EJ, but yeah, I think I sort of had that around 18 years old. I was sort of doing like I was studying stuff because it was like the thing to do that people wanted me to do, and what you're going to do if you don't do this. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do if I don't do this.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like I had like this big thing with like I was with this group of friends and stuff with these cool people, and they were all sort of like, I don't know, somebody might see this, but they were like, it was a douchey vibe around that time. And at a certain point, I was like, you know what, screw this, fuck everything about this. And I just like table flipped, and I sort of stopped talking to all of my friends at the time, apart from like the few select people that I knew were like reaching out to me and wanted to be my friend. And I became a musician because that's what I wanted to do the whole time. And I started studying music. And yeah, it's very Jim Carrey-ish, yeah.
Yeah, that's because I mean, he went with painting, you went with music, but similar kind of deal, like your artistic side, I guess you would say.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Thank you for pointing that out. I'm gonna think about that some more.
I forgot that he said a quote that I thought was really, really good for a lot of EJs, especially ENTJs. I think he said something along the lines of, I think like there's so many people in life that's gonna hate you or like you, regardless of what persona you put out there. So if you put out like a persona that's like a comedian, then there's people who's gonna like you and there's people who's gonna hate you. If you put a persona who's like a brooding, negative, like emo person, guess what? There's still gonna be people that's gonna like you and hate you. So regardless of what you put forward, it's gonna be the same result. So you might as well put up the real you because it takes less effort.
Yeah. That's pretty much exactly the conclusion that I sort of came to.
Yeah. So what is the real you then? Let's go with that. Like what have you processed with your double masculine NF sleep? About the real you.
I've kind of like, probably because it's DI last, I've kind of like come to conclusions sort of more maybe like an ISTP or something would, where I don't really, I try not to hold on to like an FI identity of me. I sort of like came to a conclusion, like sort of looking into Buddhism and looking into just everything like psychology and understanding humanity and stuff, that who I am is the experience right now of me looking at Kendrick in this Zoom call, and that this is just it, like my experience is me. So I don't really have an identity like that, that's like, I am this thing that I must measure up to. But the real me is just doing the things that I want to do, that I enjoy doing. I'm a nice person for the most part. I am DE. And I do want to do stuff for people, so that's part of who I am. I'm a musician. We could go on, but I don't know. The FI for me kind of feels insubstantial. Like I can't hold on to it that much, probably because it's last.
Well, that was very NF, what you just said right there. The one thing that I found fascinating based on what you said though is that your NF did not come across as double masculine. Like it didn't have like the punch to it, like the aggressive double masculine, because I'm like you, I have double masculine sleep also and have double feminine play. So like when my double masculine sleep comes out, it's very aggressive. So I'm quite curious to see what like that double masculine sleep of yours would look like.
For me, I think the aggressiveness comes out if you like trigger my FI. Like when I've done too much DE, then I'll just be like, look, I'm sick of your shit. And I'll just like table flip. Figuratively, but my sleep, I can see it being intense in that it's just not intense. I can see it being masculine and just that it's really intense. Like I try and take time out, even if I don't have any reason to. I try and go for walks and stuff, just so that I'm away from a screen and away from play, and I get into like my crazy internal world. Like I'm really chill externally, but on the inside, I'm like processing stuff really hard. I'm like really intense in my brain. It's like not as chill as it seems on the outside.
Yeah, no, I can relate. I'm the same as you. I'm like chill outside, but inside I have like what do you call it? Like a simmering, boiling rage that is like.
Yeah.
So what is
my rage?
Like is it like a? what is the intensity of the double masculine sleep that you have? Is it like a boiling rage? Is it like a simmering, like, like what is it like?
It can be like I had a lot of like anger issues and stuff when I was really young, and then when I got to like puberty around 14, I was like just like sat there. I remember like really clearly a moment of me just being sat at my computer, just really fucking angry, and I was like watching a YouTube video of some guy who was like doing a vlog, and he was just a normal guy living his life, and I was like, why is this guy living his life and just being normal, and I'm sat here enraged?
Yeah.
And then I sort of thought about people who are happy, and I thought about like in my life, like Buddhists seem like they're really at peace and stuff. So I started looking into Buddhism and ways of like bringing myself down and not being this really angry guy all the time. And yeah, I'm not terribly angry most of the time. I try and control the anger. I try and like breathe and come to a sort of peace about stuff. But there is that, like, I definitely have that beneath all this. I can definitely, like, when something does piss me off, I get really pissed off. I'll just be like, fuck everybody type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you did leak out some of it earlier when you said, I'm sick of your shit. Like that is like the double masculine sleep, right? Like, I'm sick of
Yeah.
Yeah. But I had a follow-up question for that. So sleep is correlated with setting boundaries with people. So you have demon sleep. Do you have trouble setting boundaries with other people? Like, yeah.
Definitely. That's a sort of like, since getting typed, that's sort of like been a thing that I've been trying to do. I've been trying to do like a long-winded way of double deciding, because I think as an EJ, I sort of have a fear of like people are going to hate me if I push on them with my DI.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to just be like, look, I think what you're saying to me is ridiculous, and you'll sort of like set a conversation with my grandma, who's like, oh, your mum's doing this and she's doing that, and she should be doing this for me because I'm her mum. And I'm like, well, I think you're putting a lot on other people, and it's actually about what you want. I think she's an EJ too, my grandma. And it's like, really, this is about what you want. It's not about what's moral and what's good. But that's fine that you want that. You can come to a compromise and stuff, and I'm trying to double decide. What was the question? Sorry. Oh, boundaries. Yeah, I'm trying to set. I'm like actively now taking responsibility for setting boundaries, because I think that's where, when I do have my demon swings, it's because I'm not setting the boundaries, and people think it's fine because I'm telling them it's fine, and you can do this, and I'm happy to do this for you and whatever. And then I'll have to explode, and I feel like it's not necessary. I don't need to explode like this. I can do something about it, Kendrick.
I think with the EJ too, it's kind of funny because you almost have to like manipulate the tribe to getting them to agree to do things that you want to do, because you can't do it yourself first. You can't put that first foot forward. You need like the tribe permission to do something that you want to do. So it's almost like a weird, like long-winded road for you to like to do something that you want to do, because the tribe has to be on board first,
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. I kind of don't experience it like that. I kind of if I could like take what you're saying and sort of like put it into my life,
right?
I'd say like stuff with like music. I'll be making a piece of music and I'm like, yeah, this is pretty cool. And then I'll think about it. I'm like, is this cool? Do I like this? I don't even what. And then I'll have to like soundboard with the tribe and be like, this is a good song, right? And they'll be like, oh, it's fucking amazing. And I'll be like, okay, I can keep working on it. But I don't see myself manipulating the tribe so much. And I think like it's part of like my last big proper demon swing when I was 18 that I was talking about. I sort of disassociated a lot from the tribe and sort of became really like, I've always been pretty introverted and like shy and whatever. But I sort of stopped doing the play. Like I sort of stopped wanting to ask for permission, and I just sort of started doing my DI thing. So I don't know. We'll see. Because I'm not sure.
Maybe the tribe manipulation is more like an FE thing then. Maybe it's not like a TE thing. Maybe it's more like a FE. It could be FE.
See, the thing is, I can see how before that last big tidal wave that I had in like 2013, that I was manipulating the tribe.
Oh, so
and I was sort of like, yeah. So like I'd be like dating a chick, and then I'd like sort of like force them into being my girlfriend. Like not actually forcing them, but I'd sort of like make the situation be the way that how I want it to be, and then I'd like be putting the responsibility on other people for what I actually wanted but couldn't admit that I wanted and stuff. Like I couldn't make things like ST clear for people because I was busy bullshitting.
Have you ever put that forward first though? Like what you wanted? Have you tried it? Like right when you meet a new person, tell them, hey, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. kind of like setting the boundaries right from like the get-go of the interaction or at the start of the relationship, you know?
No, I don't think I have. It's something that I'm trying to do more now. I think even just in my life, personally developing before getting my type back, I was like definitely trying to assert what I want and what, not even my values, but what my value is like to a situation. Like in music, I have loads of skills, and I can, if you want to do like an album or something, and you're like a hobbyist musician, I can definitely help you with that. But I didn't get all these skills for free. I put loads of work into it. I've been at university, blah, blah, blah. So if you don't want to pay me, then I can't help you, type of thing, or stuff like that. Where if you can't give anything back to me, then I'd like to help you. And it's frustrating to me. Like, I really want to be doing stuff for you, but you're not making it so that we have an equal playing field. Like, it's not TE Fairsies, so I can't do this. I'm just going to have to walk away, and I'm sorry, and I feel bad, but I have to do it. Like,
Yeah. Oh, that's good. What about being taken seriously? Because you're a chill, you know, you're like an EJ EP, right? So because you're like a chill EP, you have problems with getting taken seriously by people, you know?
I think I have more problems in my head being taken seriously than I actually do out in the world.
Okay.
So like, I feel like nobody's taking me seriously, even if they are, and I've got loads of paranoia about it. But I think with the DE, I'm sort of taking into account people's perspectives. So like, I'll try and communicate to people like sort of what I know and stuff and what I'm actually trying to do. And they should take me seriously, hopefully. Like, hopefully I have skills. So yeah, hopefully I get taken seriously. But I think my big problem with being taken seriously is actually just like probably related to Blast Last. Like you're seeing here, I get sort of like lost in my own trying to explain something.
Right.
And as a result, I like don't communicate sometimes, or I'll feel like the tribe's against me just off of nothing, or I'll misread the situation, and then I'll sort of like hide in the corner, and everyone will think that I'm an asshole and that I don't care about them and that I'm an IP or something. And it's not true. I'm just not communicating my side of the thing. So then you don't know what my side of the thing is, and I'm like, oh, they don't care about it, and it just becomes a big fucking stupid decider thing.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good that you do have the high play, like the play first, because having that back and forth interaction with the tribe is going to be relatively easy for you, and it's going to be fun for you also. And at the same time, I've seen a lot of people with Blast get away with not having Blast because you can get away with a lot of stuff with just high play. So
yeah,
I think you would rely on that play a lot. That would be your like saving grace, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I definitely do. Like, it's really interesting because like if I look, I just came out of university last year, and started looking for jobs around the time coronavirus hit. So that's all been fun. But in my time at university, for example, like for the first 2 years, I didn't really communicate at all with the professors and stuff. So they just had no fucking idea who I was or what I was doing and stuff. And I like had this big decider freak out in my head about the whole situation. And I was like, oh, they think I'm an idiot. They hate me, whatever.
Yeah.
And then when I did start communicating, I was like, this is the easiest fucking thing in the world. I can just say things to them and they'll say things back and we'll have an understanding. Well, it's play. This is my savior. I love it.
Yeah, it's really good. Play is one of the best, I think, animals there is. Your play is double feminine and it's ST. So what is double feminine ST like for you? How do you experience that?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Are you, like is it a lot of like fact gathering, a lot of like dad jokes with the tribe, would you say?
Maybe. I see myself posting loads of GIFs and stuff to react to situations. If I could, I'd communicate only in GIFs. So maybe that's the type of dad joke thing. Gathering facts, yeah. Yeah, I think I consume like ST-ish stuff. Like people have made jokes that like listening to like a boring video of a guy talking about music theory, like my ENFP friend, like, oh yes, the type of video Nick would watch. And I was like, what? And then I thought about it and I was like, I do watch a lot of boring stuff. Like,
yeah, and I think because it's in a video form, you like hearing the tribe talk about the SP, like the facts and the details and stuff. So,
right, yeah. When I think about it, I really even like podcasts where people talk about just like technical stuff back and forth.
Yeah. You have double activated consume and your consume is SF. So what is your SF consume like? Are you consuming like you know, like a lot of trashy TV shows or like really dumb shit, kind of like that's usually what I've seen with people with the SF consumes. They love to watch like like you'll have like an INTJ who's like the most intellectual person, and in their spare time they love to watch like the trashiest, dumbest shit, like that rots your brain, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of struggle to see my consume because I feel like I'm really out of touch with the SF and sort of.
But it's double activated and it's in a savior state. So,
Yeah. My only explanation is that I'm doing it so much that I can't even see it.
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't really like watching. I do like watching movies and stuff, but I just never end up doing it for some reason. Like I watch like 2 or 3 movies a year, and I'm like, that was amazing. I'm gonna sleep on it for a year now or something. I guess I play video games and stuff.
Okay, that could be it. The video games, yeah.
Yeah, that would probably be it. I guess, and listening to lots of music, but even then, I'm not really in touch with what the cool big artist is, and I don't know. I've never heard WAP, for example. I've heard about it, but I don't know. I don't know.
Wow, that's funny.
I've never heard the song. I don't know really who Cardi B is. I've seen her. I don't know.
My girlfriend loves that song, the WAP song. Yeah, she's the best. Yeah, she's right here right now. Yes. What about do you think you don't watch that many movies because you like to process that movie that you watch? Is it because you have masculine NI? Would you say like you like get stuck in like a rabbit hole of like just one area for like
Yeah. That's why I was thinking like that I was probably like an NI dom for a long time. Because I just almost don't like consuming stuff because I just get so stuck in my sleep that I just want to go deeper and deeper into my analysis of a thing that I already know.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah and so let's talk about your masculine NI then. So typically people with NI savior, when they make a plan for the future and it's masculine, they disrespect the sensory and go straight into just trying to fulfill that vision that they have, that they saw with that masculine NI. But your NI is a demon. So would you say you're still doing that or you're not doing that as much?
I'd say I'm doing that. But equally, when the sensory sort of like piles on to the point where I see that my plan just physically is completely fucking impossible, then I'll change my plan and I'll be resentful of the fact I have to change my plan. I think I'm maybe just respecting the sensory more than like a masculine NI savior or something. But because it's feminine sensory savior, it's kind of not the best sensory anyway. So I'm sort of just like, what's happening? Something's happening. I've got a plan though, but there's something over here. Oh, the plan. And then when things come in and wreck the plan, then I can kind of like, I guess I can move on quicker than like a masculine NI savior.
Well, let's talk about your savior feminine SE. What is your SE like? Do you have a bad memory, but do you like gathering facts, but then you forget the facts that you've gathered? Would you say that's something
Yeah,
that
honestly, I thought I had feminine NI savior and feminine and masculine NI demon. Yeah. No, what am I talking about? The other way around. So I thought I had. Yeah, I thought I was kind of like Otum because like me and Otum talk a lot and we feel like we're doing a lot of the same processing and stuff. Right. And we're like also like I sort of forget big concepts a lot. Like I'll come round and round to the same thing. But speaking to Benjamin and other people, a lot of the stuff supposedly that I thought was feminine NI is actually feminine SE. Like I'll confuse like the same thing. Like so for example, I'll like be walking down a road and I'll be like, oh shit, I'm on this road in this totally different town. Like all of a sudden my brain will like short circuit and I'll think I'm somewhere completely different.
Yeah.
That's sort of where I'm seeing it sensory is feminine. And if you like listen to me speak, I'll be like, oh yeah, my SI or whatever. And I don't have SI and I meant SE or NI or something. And I'm just like, the sensory is just sort of falling apart in front of me all the time.
Would you say you have a bad memory then as a result of that?
Not really. I think my masculine, my feminine sensory is sort of, I was saying with Benjamin, I think that like maybe my NI is like a bit masculine, but not too masculine. And my sensory is a bit feminine, but not too feminine. Like they could be here, but they're kind of like not too unbalanced.
Would you say that's because you're a double observer? So you're balanced with that gathering and organizing?
Yeah.
Like you're
But
almost right in the middle. It's like, if your SE is feminine and your NI is masculine, but you have Savior SE and Demon NI, but they're in the middle. So it's almost like 51-49 kind of.
yeah. But it also feels like I hear a lot of people with feminine sensory, and I know like a lot of people who have like really bad memory, and my memory just isn't like, it's not amazing. Like I don't have a great photographic memory or anything, and I sort of like, where I see my memory being bad is that like I'll distort events in the past, or I'll remember event A and I'll remember event C, and then I don't remember event B, but my brain tells me that I remember it, and it just makes some shit up. And I'll tell people about event B, and they'll be like, "That never happened, Nick." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And then they'll like check with various tribe members, and I'll be like, "Yeah, no, the event A happened and event C happened, but you just made up event B." So maybe that's feminine sensory.
Like like the memory got distorted and the story has changed.
Yeah, but the things that I do remember, I definitely remember them.
Are you balanced with control and chaos, would you say? Like if people are trying to control you, like maybe you don't like it that much, but it's still okay, you can roll with it. And vice versa with like when chaos happens, yeah, you're okay with it. It's not like the worst thing that could happen to you, like you're balanced with that control and chaos, would you say?
Interesting question. I'm having sort of a hard time passing out when I'm having like tribe issues and control and chaos issues. Because when people are trying to control me, that definitely annoys me. But that's probably for like tribe reasons. Like it's like I can't get my DI out and like fight against this easily, and I'm having to go into my last function to do that. But I feel myself having like issues with like, I think it's like masculine NI, like I want things to not be chaotic and I want things to go this one certain way. And sort of like if my webcam like disconnects or something, I'm just going to freak out. Like I might not extrovertedly freak out, but in my head I'm like, oh my god, oh shit, fuck, blah, blah, blah. So I feel like I really see like the masculine NI of like I want things to be under control and I want things to go a certain way.
That sounds like an EP freak out, if anything. Like you seem like you're definitely very EP-ish.
Yeah, I can see that.
Are you pretty chaotic too, would you say?
It depends what you mean by chaotic.
Well, there's many forms of chaos. Like when chaos happens, are you pretty chill with it? Like you're like surprisingly.
No.
No?
No, I get freaked out pretty easily. Yeah, I get freaked out by chaos pretty easily, I think.
Okay, that's interesting. Because I'm like a true EP, right? So for me, when chaos happens, I am surprisingly really calm. Like that's I am actually not calm unless like chaos. When there's chaos, like that's when I'm like at my zen,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
apocalypse, the world's falling apart, and now I'm like, oh, I'm now in my element. Like this is.
Yeah, I'm sort of more of a, I don't know if you ever like, if you know anything about like Tolkien and Lord of the Rings and stuff. I'm sort of a bit of a hobbit. I like having my little hole here and sort of like sheltering myself from the chaos of the world.
Well, I mean, I like to do that too, but because I have SI, so my SI is physical. So I like my physical world to be orderly. But like when people are being chaotic and stuff, for me, it's like, it's like, it's annoying, but whatever. It's like, it's not like.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I am pretty all right with chaos, but I feel like I'm not. But maybe I'm more all right with it than I think I am. Like people do. I've got friends who are EPs and stuff, and they call me really stuffy and sort of like not like down to do things, and like like they see me as like sort of. I think people can see me as IJ-ish, but I think it's just like the double masculine demons. Like when something's happening that I don't want and it's chaotic, then like my masculine side, like those two animals come out, and not animals, functions come out, and like I'll just be an asshole.
Is it because you're an introvert? Like you have consume and sleep together, so you get that like. You get like that deep dive introversion mode, like you get sucked into that state because of that.
Yeah. I think it's definitely that, yeah. Like as an example, I could give my friend who I think is an ENFP, when we have loads of drama. We get on like really well. We've known each other for like 10 years, but we also have loads of drama, mainly from me being like getting freaked out with my FI and stuff. Like when I'll stay at his house or whatever, he always wants to talk, right? He's just always like blah 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 thing, blah like he wants to do play way more than I do, even though it's my first animal. He might have blast higher or something. And I always like get up like 2 or 3 hours before him, and I'll sort of like be in the dark in his living room, like trying to like not make noise so that he won't wake up, so that I can have like a few more hours to process stuff. And then when he wakes up, I'll be like, dude, chill, no talking for 15 minutes, and he'll be like, nah, fuck that, blah blah blah, thing.
Well, I'm like that in the morning too. Like I hate it.
Right.
I hate noise in the morning because I'm like I want my zen. But
Mm-hmm.
as the day goes by, that's when my play blast crackhead self comes out, and then I just overwhelm everyone. But it doesn't happen. It's not a switch. It like progressively turns on, you know? So for you, it's like your consumed sleep is like what's predominantly strong. And then as the day goes by, I guess then that's when your play kicks in. And now, yeah, let's play with the tribe, you know? Let's have like that back and forth interaction.
Yeah, definitely. By the time evening rolls around, I'm happy to go out and we can do stuff.
Yeah.
But I need to like sort of process some stuff, and then I need to do a bit of work and whatever, and then I'm ready.
Your blast last and your blast is NT. Talk about being blast last first, and then afterwards talk about being NT last.
Blast last is weird. Like I just can't speak. Basically, is what it comes down to, and also getting started is really hard for me. I think like once I've started doing something, then the play, like the skip play consume thing, will like take me through things really easily, and I'll be like, oh, I can't believe I had trouble starting this. This is the best thing. This is what I wanted to do the whole time. But then actually starting is just always a fucking disaster for me. I'm always like having to like really fight like resistance to like do the thing, and I'll like make a bunch of stupid excuses, and I'll be like, oh, I don't really want to do this because it's going to be hard. It's going to be work. Oh my God, this is going to suck. I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm going to hurt myself if I do it or whatever. Like just like a bunch of stupid excuses. And Benjamin sort of like says that blast, a lot of what it is isn't even to do with talking. It's to do with like controlling the tribe. And I can see myself being really sort of bad at that. Well, not even bad at it. It's just that I really don't want to do it. I don't want to have to force you to do something that you should be doing anyway, for example. The NT part, I'm not too sure about.
Would you say you have trouble with like the abstract logic of things? Like, because that's your NT last, right? So explaining to the tribe the abstract logic of something, you know, kind of like how Tai Lopez would do it, or Robert Kiyosaki, you know, those are like the INTJ guys. Like your blaster lessons are gonna be like garbage, pretty much. Would you say that sounds about right? Like,
well, I feel like I'm really good at it, so that's maybe a sign that I'm really bad at it.
like maybe in your head you get the concept, but like when it's about to come out, it's like, you know, it's like nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I can't. I haven't seen it yet. Like in my head, in my brain, I'm amazing at doing NT blast.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You've been listening to me try an NT blast, and I won't be offended if you think it's shit.
Well, I mean, you haven't given any lessons at all since we started this interview.
Right. Okay. So I've just been talking nothing. Okay.
Like,
Just been play energy.
Yeah, like if you watch my interview with Raja, like I don't even say anything the whole interview. He was just
Right.
like blasting to me the whole like I don't know 1 hour interview that we did. He just like for me, I just sat there and he's like blasting nonstop, right? You know, so
Yeah. See, okay. So where I can see it is that like in this interview, even I'm sort of like looking at you, sort of like taking in what I'm saying, and I'm like, oh, I'm talking in the back of my head. I'm like, I'm talking too long. I'm annoying him. He's got other things to do right now, and it's like you asked me for an interview, and it's like what the fuck. So maybe that's yeah, I know, right? So that's probably where the problem with the NT blast is that I don't want to do the NT blast.
Yeah, I mean, no, you want to do the play, so I feel like for you want like that even back and forth talk time.
Yeah.
You know, but typically, you know, in an interview, you should be doing like maybe like, you know, 80% of the talking, you know, and I'm like doing,
yeah.
You know, I'm just asking you questions and stuff, and you know, I give you my feedback, and then you elaborate on the thought. But for you, it's like, but in a way, it's good because then the conversation we're having, it's more comfortable. Like when I'm talking to you, it's like it's comfortable because it's play, it's back and forth, right? You know, when you're talking to someone that's blast first, you know, and maybe play like demon or play last, then it's like it's like a really awkward conversation. You know, it's like okay, you teach me your concept, and then I'll teach you my concept, and then you there's no human side to it. It's very like robotic almost. You know.
Yeah, I'm glad that it's comfortable. Yes, so I can kind of see like in these interviews, since I've like been speaking to you and I spoke to Benjamin not too long ago.
Yeah.
As I start expanding, like I can give you like the point, I think, and then when it comes time to expand, then it sort of like starts like I start losing the point of what I'm saying, and I'll be like, "What was the question?" And so I like sort of start feeling like I'm lost somehow or something, and
Yeah.
I need to like go and get ping back from the play.
Well, I mean, like from what I can see from you, you're doing a lot of sharing of yourself, like about Nick, right? Which is good, and that's really good, you know. Which really shows that you have high play because you are sharing like what your life is about. Um,
Mhm.
so I don't think necessarily you need to blast, you know, in an interview format. Like if you're doing a YouTube video and you're doing like a how-to guide for something, then yeah, you do need to blast for that. Because if you're just playing, then yeah, play helps a lot. You know, play and blast together makes the explanation even better. Because if you're just blasting, then yeah, it's good, but having that like, you know, like they say, play is like showing off, right? So
Yeah.
demonstrating it in like real life is also like really good because sometimes you get like a blaster, especially like an intuitive blaster, and there's no real life example of their blast, you know, and it's like what the hell, like how do I apply this
Right.
concept, right? So with play, people can say, okay, this is the real life application of it. The problem with not having blast though is that it might be hard to follow because you know with blast it's typically you want something that's step by step kind of like okay, you know, this is like how we would, you know, this is the first step that you would do followed by this step, and if you do it in a specific order, this is the specific result that you'll get, you know. It's like, you know, let's go with ST blast for example, like, you know, like Gordon Ramsay, you know,
Yeah.
like he's teaching you how to cook and shit, right? But like, you know, when you cook food, you have to put them in a specific order, right? Because if you don't, then it's not gonna taste the same, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, so I think that's kind of like with your anti blast, like I feel like you gotta like show people like the step of the like the thought process. And if you do it like this specific test as this specific order, then they'll get a specific result. You know, it's like
Yeah.
cooking, like an abstract word, I guess you could say. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I think I've been mistaking, like, up until getting types and up until even this interview, I think I've been mistaking, like, a lot of play for blast.
yeah,
Um,
and also, dude, like your like your DE is feminine, right? This T is feminine. So I
mhm.
feel like if you do end up like teaching the tribe with something, I feel like you would do it in like a more gentle, guiding way instead of like controlling way because it's not
Yeah,
master,
exactly. Yeah.
right? So it's like let's say there's like a flock of people, right? So instead of being like a drill sergeant, it's like, hey, you move there, move there, move there. You know, you're like, okay, guys, you know, we're gonna go move this way now, and then we're gonna move this way. It's like very soft and friendly, and you know,
Yeah, like I've found like especially like in university and stuff when I was in bands, like when there's like miscommunication and stuff between people, I'd be like the one to like help people understand why like there's like the controlling douche, blaster douche, telling people what to do, and then I'll be like, okay, guys, so you don't like it and stuff, but here's why they want you to do this thing, type of thing. Um, I'm blast lasting, but I had a point about blast because you brought something up, but I've completely lost it. So I'm
but
blast lasting it.
we were talking about how feminine TE would be like guiding someone as opposed to controlling someone. So does that
Yeah,
help?
it was before then. It was to do with like guiding through, but I can't remember.
Like guiding people to achieve a
It,
specific
it,
result, like to get a result, like
it was a step by step. I think I'm like maybe I'll give you the step and sort of like wait to see that you can do the step, and then we'll go to the next step. Like when I teach guitar sometimes,
oh,
and
your audio just got like lowered when you touch your microphone. It just
sorry,
there we go. We got it.
I looked at my interface and it's all red, and I'm like, oh, my audio is distorting.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think since talking to you, I have not seen you, you know, try to guide me to a specific result. You know, like you haven't taught me any concept that would help me achieve like a specific result. You know, because that's essentially what anti-blast is, I think. Like
Yeah.
I watch INTJs do it. You know, they always have like I'll give you a concrete example. Like one of my friends in real life, he is like a YouTuber, and you know he makes money selling online courses on how to dance online. So basically, like when I was asking him for tips on you know how to succeed with like YouTubing, his advice to me was like an INTJ advice. It's like I think it's more relevant for INTJ blasters, but you know there's some truths to what he said. Like he said to me like, all you have to do is make 3 how-to videos per week. Make sure they're high quality. You should spend at least 8 hours minimum on each of those videos. And if you do it 3 times a week for 1 whole year, by the end of the year, you should make $2,000 a month on income. You know, like that's kind of like, but he didn't tell me how to do it. You know, he didn't tell me like what the video looks like. This is like the editing software you're going to use. He didn't tell me any of that shit, right? All he told me was like, this is the concept. This is the strategy. Do this.
Yeah.
Result. Right?
I think I'm just like totally like using play instead of blast. Or like I feel like I can blast if you need me to blast, then I can do it. Like in a situation, like if I have skills that you don't have and you need to know about it, then I can do it. But it needs to have like a back and forth to it. Like I can't just blast at you and like watch you not enjoy it and like give you like the 5th point when you haven't even processed the first point yet. Like I'll give you point 1, work on that. Once you've got it, come back to me. Then I'll give you point 2 and stuff like that. It's like a way more feminine sort of thing, a way more TE, Fairsies type of feminine thing, I guess.
Well, you know, in a way that's good because, you know, with a play, you are staggering the advice you're giving, right? Because like you can't give the next advice if the person hasn't even, you know, mastered the first advice you gave them, right? So, so that in a way that play is really good. But I'm gonna put you in a spot now, and I'm gonna ask you to teach me something. Give me like an anti-blaster lesson. You know, like tell me something about that, like you're good at, like music or something that you know, like a hobby of yours, and just like give me like a quick lesson. You know.
So with music, let's say specifically singing, but any instrument,
Okay.
there's no, in my opinion, there's no right or wrong way of doing things. There's just like, if it works or if it doesn't work, kind of TE. And you need to be comfortable. If it's hurting you, like say you're singing, if you're like going high and you want to sound like Beyonce or whatever, or I don't know who's a really good, like Whitney Houston, if you're hurting yourself, you're doing it wrong. That is the rule. Do not hurt yourself ever. Like just don't do it. Like as soon as you start to feel pain, think of a different way of going about this. Right. So I don't want you to be like sort of cringing as you're singing and stuff and like pulling funny faces. Like do that if it's putting emotion into it, but don't push your body anywhere that it doesn't want to go. And the same thing in sports, and the same thing applies sort of everywhere. Just do what is comfortable, like push limits, but don't push them so far that it hurts. Like you don't want to do this extra rep, but do it, but not if your knee hurts. Like if your knee or your back or your joints or whatever's hurting, just stop. Just recenter yourself and try and come at this with a clear mind again.
Okay, that's like a mix of play and blast together. It's still more still more playish. There is some blast in there, but it's more playish. So yeah, you're definitely blast last, man. I think if anything, it's definitely like accurate that you're blast last.
Yeah.
Have you thought of doing like a public speaking class? Like have you been to Toastmasters or any of those like stuff to help with your blast?
No. Because I'm not seeing it as a massive problem. Like I can, if I have something to present and stuff, I can do that.
I guess because you're a play first, it's like you can get away with a lot of stuff with the play first.
Yeah.
It's almost like a trick. I've seen people with like blast last but play first. They can get away with like public speaking and a lot of stuff, but just like going all in a play. And because play is so comfortable and it's fun, like it's almost like preferable, you know?
Yeah. Like, I feel like I could blast stuff if I have it prepared as well. Like I'm not going to be going up on a stage just randomly in the middle of like my day when I'm going to get groceries and stuff.
Right.
So I can sort of like, I can prepare a blast, but it's not like if I was an INTJ, I'd be walking to the grocery store and then I see somebody and I can give them this big life lesson out of nowhere that they don't want and stuff. I'm not, that's not, I don't even want to be able to do that. That's not something that really interests me.
Well, that's good. You don't want to be like that unsolicited, you know, blaster lessons, you know, like no one asked for your blaster lessons, you know, like don't.
I'm horrified by that.
Yeah, I'm gonna make fun of this one guy that I interviewed before. You know, I like the guy a lot. His name is like Joshua McCrae. I think you've seen him in the Facebook group. And
I think
you know,
so.
like I love the guy, but like man, he like fucking just blasts us like he gives like unsolicited blast advice, you know, like.
I've got a lot of friends that are like that, and a lot of the time, like I've got friends who aren't musicians, and I'll send them a song, and I'll be like, you know, you can layer this snare with the clap with the thing. I'm like, yeah, I know. You don't even make music. What are you telling me about music for? I'm just like, do you like it? I'm asking you if you think it's like, if it works, like sort of like I've got this weird idea, like I've got like a really bassy song and I'm going for a low vocal on it, which is like not standard. And I'm like, is this clashing in your ears? Is it annoying you? And they're like, yeah, no, they don't even answer my question. I should be like, did you know you can do this thing? And I'm like, yeah, I did, yeah. What's your point? Who are you talking to right now?
I feel like that's like someone with like blast savior, either like sleep blast or blast sleep, and like consume last. I think they would do something like that. Like they don't know the subject, and they would like pull something out of their ass and make something up. Like I'll give you an example. Like one of my good friends growing up, I think he's an ISTJ, like consume last person. I don't know if it's sleep blast or blast sleep. I haven't figured that out yet. But okay, so. Me and my friends would like try to make fun of him because we know he's like this kind of person that would give unsolicited advice, and even though he knows nothing about the subject, so we know he's never dated before. He's a virgin.
Yeah.
We'll ask him for dating tips because he'll pull something out of his ass completely, and it's like completely completely useless.
It's fucking amazing.
It's the funniest shit in the world, right? It's like this is what you should do on a date. It's like you've never been on a date before. You're a virgin. You're in your, you know, like it's like.
It's so weird. Like, I didn't realize that's what Blast was. I don't think like I don't know. Blast is kind of like almost glorified in a lot of ways in OP because like Dave's a blaster and then Shan's like blast last, so she wants to be good at blaster. They're like, yeah, do these like lessons. Even like they kind of like, say you're a douchebag if you're a blaster, but also it's like seen as like you're a cool guy who can like stand on stage and tell people what to do and stuff.
Yeah.
So like I think a lot of people like type themselves as like IJ and like higher blast because it's like got some sort of value to it. But then when I actually break it down and I look at people who are like sleep blast, especially if they've got like sleep blast or consume blast, it's just it can be ridiculous sometimes. But what, as you were saying earlier, play blast can be really, really good.
I think if you're blast, but like even if you're a blaster, but you don't have consume blast, I think it's okay. You know.
Yeah.
You know, but like, yeah, it's like the thing that we were talking about earlier. Like if you're consume blast and you're blasting about subjects that you know nothing about, you know, that is like embarrassing, right?
Yeah, that's the situation in which it's ridiculous. Like having Savior Blast, it's great, especially if you know what you're talking about. You really can teach people and you really can help people. So it's not like I'm fearing tribe hate right now. It's not like all blasters are douchebags and I hate them or anything. Like I've got plenty of friends who are blasters, but it's just those funny situations where you're like, man, you tried making a song one time and failed, but you're going to teach me about music. What the fuck is this? Like.
Well, let's talk about being info dominant then. So you are not.
I'm actually energy dom, I think.
No, you are not info dominant. You are energy dominant.
Right.
Let's start with info dominant and then we'll go with energy dominant. Okay. So because you're not info dominant, you have the consume, but you don't have the blast. So you're not going to have like the most accurate information. Is that something that does not bother you at all? Because you rather preserve and expend energy. Like you rather be balanced with preserving and expending energy than having the most accurate information?
I think that might be the case, yeah. Like in my head, like if you tell me, do you want all the information or do you want it to be vague? I'll definitely tell you that I want all the information. But there's more to life. Like I've got other stuff to do apart from knowing everything about one subject and stuff. Like I also need to enjoy my life and I can't do that if I'm just like obsessively, like I get kind of obsessive sometimes in my like research of stuff.
Yeah.
And like I need to not be. And I sort of see how, for me, it's like trying to find a balance constantly of like, I'm just going to be worn out, and I'm always scared of like burning out and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing that I try and manage, is like, I really want to get this song out by this date, but if it means quitting music after making that song because I hate it so much, because I've worked so hard, then this is counterproductive, because I've got plans to go down the line, and this is sort of my life goals. So I can't overdo it.
Well, in a way, from a health perspective, that's good, because then you're expending energy, but you know when to hit the brakes, right? So that's good. Then you know when to, take some time for yourself to rest up, to just, collect yourself again,
I try to, but I also see with like double masculine sleep, I get stuck in my sleep. Yeah. And then because of blast last, I'll like sleep to not blast. So right. And I can overextend.
No, but if a friend calls you up to hang out and stuff, you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm down, because you still have the high play, right? So.
Yeah, so sometimes I'm not. Like, and that's sort of like maybe why I seem like IP-ish or EP-ish. Like sometimes I would just be like, I'm blast lasting and sleeping right now, so I can't have you like screwing with my space. But normally I'll be down for it, yeah.
So I just need to be clear. On average, you're down to chill with the tribe. So it's only sometimes when you're really pushed to the edge, when you need to go hide in your room and
yeah.
Introvert, yeah.
Yeah.
But okay. But don't you think it's kind of like counterproductive sometimes if you're not info dominant? Because I'll give you a concrete example. So I've been telling my sister for the longest time to get a second passport. So I live in Canada. I have a Canadian passport. So does my sister. But we weren't born in Canada. We were born in the Philippines. Now we're Chinese by blood, but we can't speak Chinese because we were born in the Philippines. So, and we came to Canada when we were really young. So we're pretty much like whitewashed, right? Like we're like a banana, you could say. Right?
Okay.
Yellow on the outside, white on the inside. But anyways, so like we like to travel a lot, and there are certain countries where it's a pain in the ass to get a visa for, or it's more expensive to get a visa. So it would actually be beneficial for us to go through the hassle of getting dual citizenship and getting like a second passport. So in our case, getting a passport from the Philippines. So we'll have a Canadian and Philippine passport. But my sister, she's like energy dominant, right? She's like a mope. She has like a sleepy looking face. She's like, looks like she's about to pass out at any time. Like she's continuing to sleep, I think.
Is this the INFJ one?
She's an ENFP, I think. She's very chaotic and breaks the rules in. Yeah, she's like very like chaotic. Anyway, so she's like, no, I don't want to do it. Too much effort. I don't want to deal with the stuff. Anyways, we actually traveled together. We went to Rwanda and Uganda and the Congo. And so we like extreme travel, right? So we went to like these parts of Africa that are more extreme to travel to. And I use my Philippine passport. The Philippine passport is weird because in Rwanda, I don't have to pay for a visa. I can just go in. And I actually save energy. Like I saw this coming. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go there, show her my passport, stamp in. While she has to go fill out the forms, pay the fees, go through all this bullshit. And because we're going in and out of the different African countries, she has to do this several times. So she saw me getting through the immigration, like no problem. And when we came back to Canada, she's like, okay, I'm handing up this shit. Like I've seen you through the immigration with no hassle. And like, let's screw this shit. I'm gonna get the Philippine passport. But because my sister's not info dominant, she goes to the Philippine embassy to renew her Philippine citizenship and get the passport. And she doesn't have all her documents ready because she's not info dominant, right? So she has to go back home, get the documents, go back there again. And again, because she's not info dominant, she's missing like specific size of a photograph that she needs, So she has to go downstairs with like the office is gonna close in 10 minutes. She has to like panic, go downstairs, get a photo taken real quick, go back upstairs with like 1 minute to spare. It's so much energy that you're expending because you just didn't take the information seriously and make sure that you have it accurately. And as a result, you have to end up wasting more energy, So
I relate to that.
Have you done that shit where it's like, just more conserving energy, you end up wasting energy?
Yeah. I relate very deeply to that story. On a spiritual level, I find myself relating to your sister. I actually I'm in the UK, but I was actually born in France. and this is my passport.
You're French.
And we have this thing, we have this thing called Brexit going on, and like I'm technically like not a UK citizen. I'm a UK citizen, but I'm not like, my dad's English, so I have like the right to citizenship and everything. But I just no. I need to get the second passport, but I'm wasting my energy not doing the info. And I actually had the same thing as your sister. Like I went to the French embassy like to renew my passport recently, like a year ago, I think. And I went, like it's in London, and I don't live in London anymore. I now live in on the south coast of the country because of university, and I stayed here because there's a lot. Capital cities are a lot of energy and a lot of anxiety from so many people. So I went all the way there. I like stayed with my friend for a weekend, did all this stuff, paid money, got trains, went to the embassy, got to the embassy. They were like, do you have the paperwork and the right size photo? I was like, what do you mean? They were like, what the fuck? I was like, okay. So they didn't even let me into the embassy with my old passport. They were like, we don't even know, this isn't valid anymore. We don't know what you want. Fuck off. And I was like, oh my God. And I told my mum about it, and she was like, oh great, this whole trip was a waste of time then. And I was like, well, I had a nice chill time, I guess. Like, you know, it was good to get out of my town. So I had to do the whole thing again. So I wasted a whole fucking ton of energy, and like had to do a bunch of info shit that I didn't want to do because I didn't know it right the first time. So yeah, I do that exact type of shit, and it's really counterproductive. Like you need to not leave that void, but it just happens.
I think with the info dominant, it's like your life is a hassle in the moment, but in the future, your life is more like streamlined. It's more less of a hassle. You don't go through that bullshit that you went through, you know, with the French embassy stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a lot of hassle up front. Like I feel like, you know, like if you want to learn how to be more info dominant, you like the thought process you want to get into is like hassle that a little bit of hassle now for a lot less hassle in the future. You know, it's like you know, like my girlfriend was typed as like an INTJ, right? But she's like a weird like sleep consume INTJ, like she's like an IJEP. You know, it's like really weird.
Yeah.
And like she doesn't want to deal with like documents at all, like the sensory like document. She's double feminine also, right? It just absolutely like crushes her to deal with like all this paperwork shit, right? Like in our household, I do all like the, you know, make sure the phone bill, the electricity is paid, the internet is paid. The, you know, when we travel, I have like all like the visa documents and stuff. Like I have a whole stack of it because I'm like obsessively info dominant, right? I have like your passport photo, I have a visa size photo. It's like I'm info dominant. So I'm like, really obsessing with this shit, right?
So the SI last is controlling the IJ or keeping stuff under control for the IJ.
Well, because I can see the chaos that's going to happen in the future if we don't have the shit.
Yeah.
Let's have the shit, and then we prevent the chaos from happening. So, so every time I travel with my girlfriend, like I always like to like try to see if she had the information already handy or not. Just like I have her information, but I just want to see if she has it. And she'll be like, "Oh no, I don't have it." You know, like I don't have it. It's like, don't worry. You know, I got it here. What you know, like
it's amazing because like just swapping one animal round for your last animal just like changes the type completely.
Yeah.
Like you're still definitely an ENFP, but like an energy dom ENFP has no fucking idea what the documents are and anything like that.
Exactly. But because I have SI problems, but because I'm info dominant, you know, it's like a lot better than like I still freak out. Like when I'm doing all this like document bullshit, like I can tell you right now, the entire time I'm doing it, I am freaking out. Like I hate my life. I want to jump off my balcony, you know, like I fucking hate myself. Like this is like the worst shit ever. But I'm still doing it because I'm responsible for like being info dominant.
Yeah.
You know, but like I like to travel with my girlfriend and my two sisters, and like my other sister, she's like consume last. She's like the blast first, consume last douchebag that you were like describing earlier. And no, she's growing up though. I think recently, she said to me like, I realized that when I teach people, their eyes blank out. Like their eyes, it's just like glaze over.
That's good.
And then I'm like, yeah, because you need permission first before you teach. You can't just keep blasting people like you always do. You know?
Yeah. Self-growth.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think eventually people like see this happening. Like yeah. But like when I travel with them, none of them have any of their documents ready, and I'm like, oh fuck, I have like, and like I'll even email them like a checklist of every single thing that they need, and they just have to check it one by one, and they'll be good. And they'll look at it, and they even told me like when they looked at the checklist, they already felt sleepy. They're like,
Yeah.
like getting tired looking at it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I always thought that I always saw myself being energy dom, but I was like, I thought I was NF just because I'm like hippie-ish and I'm sort of vague with
Yeah,
the
you are so
last.
hippie. You're super hippie-ish.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought I was like just some type of NF type, and like when I actually get into it, like I don't have like you were talking about when you're looking through documents, you're like freaking out. When you're a teenager and stuff, you just don't want to deal with it because your parents can do it for you. But recently I've been doing like paperwork for like moving into a new place and stuff. And it really actually, once I actually like get through the blast of I need to look at this document, I'm totally fine with it. I'm like pretty happy to be looking at a document or whatever. So
Yeah.
that's really interesting.
Yeah, there you go. See, there's no freak out when you are, with you don't have things freak out is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I kind of do have things freak out sometimes, but I think it's just like everyone, like you probably have some decider issues. It's not
Of course.
like as big. Yeah, yeah.
But okay, here's the deal though. Basically, when you are like a double observer, you have people problems, and usually the people problems are unresolved. Either with the self or the tribe, right? There's some kind of like unresolved issue there. Because even though I'm a double decider, I still get people problems, but I find that they do get resolved eventually.
Yeah.
Like every people problem I've had has usually resolved itself within a year. I've seen everything has been resolved within a year. I've actually been very surprised because my sister went up to me. She's like, "You have people problems. How are you? Like, how are you? How are you like an EP? And I'm like, yeah, but if you look at my problems, they've been resolved after a year. Like any people problem I have, either with self or tribe, has been resolved after a year. But the things problem is ongoing. Like I've had the same things problem since I was 18 years old. Like since I was like 20 years old, let's say. Like I don't know, like 10 plus years, of like the same things problem. So my question for you is, what people problems have you had that's been unresolved for like many years now? Like either with the self or the tribe. Like what is your like unresolved issue?
Oh, there's so many, Kendrick.
Well, just give me one example. Give me one example.
Like with this self, I guess I'm like probably to do with blast and also feminine TEEJ type thing.
Yeah.
I just like I'm constantly like working towards stuff, and like nowadays like I can say like in DST and as a fact, like I am really competent at what I do and stuff. But then in the back of my head, I'm like, you're kind of shit though. You could be better. There's people who are better than you. You're kind of you need to work harder. Oh, fuck, all this type of stuff. So I have like sort of low self-esteem issues like that.
Oh.
Yeah, like that's like a really big like theme of my life is like self-esteem. And I think that's like a lot of where my decider issues are coming from, where like I don't want to communicate and stuff, and I can be avoidant or whatever because I've already decided that you don't like me because I like have problems with myself, I guess.
Yeah.
And with the tribe, I guess I have like issues with my parents, like my dad's really selfish or whatever, and my mum's like really chaotic and stuff. And like I have like unresolved issues with them of like I don't know what that is, but or even friends, like my friend group that I had back in my last hideaway, I know some of them and I don't know some of them, but there's just like air that hasn't been cleared with a lot of people just generally when I've had fallings outs and stuff.
Wow, that is difficult, man. That is tough. Like having all this unresolved people issues. That is rough, man. Everything you described to me, like I've had to deal with my life also. Like everyone will go through some kind of like conflict with parents or friends. But like I've managed, like okay, like for example, me and my mom do not get along at all. Like my mom's an IJ, I'm an EP. My mom's consume last. She has, it's like we just don't get along. But it's kind of been resolved. Like I see her like maybe like once in a while. That's good enough. And like yeah, it's been resolved even though it's been like an ongoing problem growing up. And then with my friends growing up also, the ones that I did not like, I've already officially cut them off. I actually told them they're cut off. I'm never talking to them again, and they're done. They're out of my life. And the ones that I cut off, but I felt like was a big mistake, I mended those relationships, and I kind of set my boundaries where it's like, okay, this friend, I like this friend a lot, but this friend is toxic, so this is gonna be like a 3 times a year friend. Like I see this person 3 times a year,
Right.
So we maintain that friendship because I still care about this person. This person's still my friend. But spending too much time with this person is fucked up. So 2 or 3 times a year, that's it. It's good. Like, you know, birthdays, you know, like those kind of stuff. Like, I see them on the birthdays and that's it. You know, like, you know.
Right, yeah. So I'm like now, as I was saying, like I've started doing the play more since getting typed and stuff. Like I'm now like talking on a weekly basis with my grandma, and I'm like talking to my mum more and stuff, and being less in my demon FI. And I think it's good. I think the boundaries for me are going to be a big thing. I'm learning about it slowly but surely. But I think if I was an EP, like my friend who I mentioned earlier, who I think is an ENFP, he has big tribe dramas, but then he'll be like, "Oh, I fucking hate this guy. He does this shit, and he comes to me to like process his thing." And then like a week later, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, he's cool with friends." And like for me, it's like, you know, like for the last 8 years, I'm like, don't know where I stand with this person or whatever.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have that, so I'm gonna learn to become a true EP one day.
A true chill EP.
Yeah.
You know what? Your friends, your ENFP friend story really resonates with me because like I can't tell you how many times where I had an arch enemy become a friend, like
Yeah.
just because I talked to them, you know.
Yeah.
And it's been like it's happened to me so many times in my life. I've always been baffled. Like when I was in elementary school, this guy used to beat me up. Like we would go to camp and he would beat me up. Right, I would hate his guts. By the time we get to like grade 10, this person's not my friend. We sit beside each other in class and we're like buddies, you know. It was like I was like, how the fuck does this happen? Like these kids that used to beat me up and he hate their guts, and now we're friends. We're talking on the phone, you know. We're like, so it's like, yeah. So I guess that's a good example of what you said about like, yeah, it's been 8 years, you still don't know where you stand with them. Well, for me, it's been resolved at some point, you know.
Yeah, I've definitely had times where I've been enemies with people and I become their friend, but I think it's like way less common, and like a lot of the time it's like not what you're describing, but we had like misunderstandings. Like I thought something about someone and they thought something about me, and we didn't communicate, and then we were forced to work together, and we were like, this works great or whatever. But yeah, it's something that I'm going to work on, is becoming a double decider.
Yeah, it seems like for you, it's because like you made an assumption about someone and you didn't like you weren't being info dominant, so you didn't clarify if that assumption was real. And
Yeah.
then unless you were forced in a situation where you had to work together, that's when
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
by accident. That you know.
I can also kind of see it being like an FI thing. Like I like judged this person. Like I decided I don't like this person.
Yeah.
Just for whatever reason, they just like drank the wrong coffee or so. Like, that's not something that I'd actually care about. But they did something that I was just like, nah, wrong. Fuck that. Fuck them.
Yeah.
And then you actually learn that they're actually a human being, and you're like, they're all right.
Yeah. No, I can relate to that too. I'm gonna ask you a question about being a tester and visual. So talk about being a tester. Do you like to experiment and try different stuff, like different food, or you know, like are you an experimental kind of person?
It's hard because I kind of feel like I'm not, but then I can see a lot of ways in which I am. And I think it's kind of to do with like SE, the way that I'm seeing that I'm a tester. Like with like food and stuff, I'll really eat like the same type of food all the time. I'll go to the same supermarket and buy the same type of stuff. And then all of a sudden, after a while, it will like build up, and I'll like look in my fridge and I'll be like, man, this is fucking boring. I don't even want to eat because this food is so fucking boring. And then I'll go to some crazy random restaurant that I've never been to, and I'll like order out from them or something. And I'll like add weird flavor combinations of stuff.
Okay.
Because apparently SI users don't like doing that. Like you sort of know how something's going to taste before you put it in your mouth. But I'll like put like some weird, like, I don't know, like some, this isn't something that I've done, but I can imagine myself trying it out, like put like bananas on a pizza or something like.
Okay, yeah, that you're definitely like a tester, like experimental. Speaking of food, have you ever eaten in a restaurant by yourself?
Yeah, yeah.
How was that?
Um,
Does it make you uncomfortable? Because I noticed that a lot of EJs get really uncomfortable with this.
it wouldn't have been if like I ate a pizza at a place called Pizza Express recently, and they do takeaways and stuff. So I think the person who I was ordering from, the waitress, was like, "Oh, you want this to take away?" And I was like, "No, just eat it here." And she was like, "Really? You want to eat this here?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "You sure?" And I was like, "Oh fuck, I'm fucking up the tribe. I can't be doing this. But then I just stuck with it anyway, masculine decline. And then it kind of felt awkward. I kind of was like there. I was like, now that she's made me feel weird about it, I'm like looking around. It's like people are looking at me. I'm like projecting shit.
Is it a COVID thing? That's why it was weird for you?
No, this was like a while ago. This was like around a year ago. And since then, I think I might have decided freaked out so much about it that I haven't come back to eat at a restaurant alone.
Oh, someone ruined the experience for you. It was horrible.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But I like just like going to McDonald's or whatever and buying a burger and just eating it in like the mess hall in like my supermarket or stuff like that. I quite like eating alone publicly.
Gotcha. What about being a visual person? Do you learn visually? Do you have a visual memory? Would you say you have a visual memory? If I ask you to like recall like a time, sometime in your past, would you be able to visualize it and feel the feelings in that time and space?
Yeah, I see it being kinesthetic as much as visual. Yeah, like there's definitely images to my memory, but I'm sort of getting like kinesthetic and audio. Like I remember the kinesthetic feeling of the sensory of and the feelings of the situation, like the F of the situation. It's hard for me to know because I don't have a frame of reference of how anyone else remembers things. I don't know what's going on in your head, so it's hard for me to compare.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, dude. I have last two questions for you, and we'll wrap up this interview. So the first one is, what advice can you give to fellow blast people on how they can work on improving their blast and being more info dominant? Because otherwise, you know, the rug's going to get pulled under you as a result of you trying to preserve or manage your energy when in fact you're going to end up burning more energy. So what advice can you give to those people?
Shan actually gave me advice on this, and I think it's like really good advice. So I sort of came to this conclusion and then had a demon swing and sort of forgot about it. And now definitely agree that it's a good idea. Just set a schedule and don't overwork yourself. Like don't make the thing that you're going to do be a big thing. So like I need to say you need to, I don't know, you need to last man. Say you need to do a job interview or something, but you also need to wash your car and blah, blah, blah. Just say, I'm just going to do this job interview. And like, if you want to do something that's self-discipline, don't set it up to be like, I'm going to work all day tomorrow. Just say, I'm going to try and do this thing for 20 minutes. If I fail or if I don't fail, it doesn't matter. I would have tried. And if I try every day for 20 minutes, it's going to get easier and easier. So just make it manageable in your mind. And then when you do that, like for me, when I do 20 minutes of work, I end up doing 4 hours of work and it just flies by and I look outside and it's nighttime and I started in the morning. So just get over it. Just make it easy for yourself to get over your blast.
That's a good advice. And do you have any questions for me about functions that I have that you don't have, like NE or SI? Do you have any questions about those? Or even animal stacks, like I have on Play Blast Kraken, for example, you know?
Right. Yeah, I'm really fascinated by SI. Are you feminine NE?
Yeah, feminine NE, masculine SI.
Wow, how do you keep the feminine NE under control?
Oh, it's hard. I don't. I mean, I do my best. It's been a lifelong struggle, man. It's not something I could say I've conquered. You know, this is my unresolved issue right here. Is that when that feminine NE goes crazy, it's like I can't control it. It's just, you know, if I want to gather something now, I'm gonna go gather it. Doesn't matter if I go broke or, you know, or whatever. Then I'm still gonna do it. You know, like I'm gonna gather.
It's interesting because, like, for me, feminine NE is kind of like a triggering function a lot of the time. Like, I think it's because of the masculine NI. Like, I want like the abstract to be like one thing, and I want it to be solid. And I don't really get that from you. I don't get that you're like crazy crackhead channel changing too much. You don't generally trigger me, so I'm impressed by that. It's not really a question, but good job.
Well, I mean, you know me from this interview, but if you knew me in real life, you know, like in person,
yeah, maybe
you knew me for like several years. You know, like one of the biggest accusations that my INTP friends said to me is that you are always changing shit. Like you don't have any commitment to like one thing. You know, like as far as I've known you, you started, like at first I wanted to be, okay, when I finished high school, my mom convinced me to study accounting. So I went to accounting, which is horrible. Like in ENFP accounting, that's ridiculous. Granted, I was good at it though, because I did have a master in SI and I was info dominant.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was bad at it, but it wasn't for me, right? So I went to that shit. And then later on I went to, I just went to, general studies. I wanted to become a ship captain. And then I wanted to go to like a school to learn how to be like a ship captain or something. And then I went to business school, and then I became a personal trainer, which I'm still doing. So yeah, so I've jumped, like I've pretty much had a job in every single industry you could think of. Like I've worked in a restaurant before. I worked in like partially in construction. I did like customer service. Like I've done like a whole wide shit. But I think personal training was the first one I stuck to, because I've been doing it for 7 years now. So I've been in the fitness industry for 7 years. I've been travel blogging now for almost 4.5 years. So that's also been like, as I got older, I learned to, like, I don't have masculine and I, so I'm not going to pick one. But I told myself, because I was listening to something like INTJs give advice, and they actually said, the one thing is bad, because let's say you have a career in this one path, and let's say something bad goes in the industry, like right now the pandemic happened, right? And you might be out of job. Then if you have like a skill somewhere else, then you're more likely going to be okay, right? So, but if you have too many, then you're also not going to make meaningful progress. So what is like the right balance here? So basically what I learned from the INTJs is like, they said 2 to 4 small business or career path you can choose, like at one time. You can have 2 to 4. Just understand that they're going to be in a part-time basis, because if you're going to spread out your attention, 2 to 4 of them, then it's going to be part-time. So I got like the ENFP Male YouTube channel. I have a travel blog and YouTube channel. And then on my day job, I'm a personal trainer in fitness, and I work in the fitness. And I specialize with that too. I work with seniors, and I do like active rehab. So that's kind of like my specialty. So, those are my 3. I'm not going to venture out of those 3. Like I was thinking of starting a 4th one, but I'm trying to like keep myself down. Like, no, not yet. Stick to those 3 for now, and don't go out. So it's just part of the growing process.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I sort of always feel like when I'm doing something, I'm like, I feel myself want to go all in on the thing. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm more scared of like, I do several things, but I like can't almost like conceive of them all in my mind at the same time. So that's kind of good advice. I can like try and do like 3 things. 3 things is a good idea.
Well, I think what you're doing is good in like if you had NI, I feel like you would be ahead in your life, maybe like in your 20s compared to like people with NE, because people with NE would be like jumping around. So by the time they get to their 30s, they have like nothing, right? They have nothing like concrete that they've built. But if you are an NI person, you would have something concrete. I think the bad thing though, because like if you're using NE, you're projecting yourself to the future, but you can see like the different possible things that can happen in the future, like different possibilities, right? So I can see like this is a potential chaos that's gonna happen. Like let's say the pandemic's gonna happen, or economic recession is gonna happen. So I can see all this happening. So if you're an NE user and maybe you had like 2 or 3 starting your 20s, maybe by the time you get to your 30s, you have jack shit. But by the time you get to your 40s, you would be like established in 2 or 3 different areas that when like, let's say a recession happens or a pandemic happens, or like, let's say that industry that you went all in, you put all your eggs in that basket, goes away, like it's completely obsolete, then you're not fucked. You can just pivot to the one.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, in like I said, like in the midterm, NI people is gonna kill it, but I think in the long term, like that, any person is safer. That's just.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. Another question I have is like about SI is like, because you have SI last, I noticed like SI is like, for some reason, like it gets really nostalgic and it's sort of like linked with nostalgia somehow. Do you find nostalgia creepy, or do you like it, or how do you feel about nostalgia?
It's really nostalgic. I like to look at old pictures and like I can like I cannot be present, man. Like I don't like when I go to like when I travel somewhere, it's hard for me to be present at like what I'm seeing,
Wow.
But when I look at the photos, that's when I experience the feeling, the emotion when I was there. There's like a lag. Right. There's a lag time. I'm also sleep lost, so obviously my emotion has like a lag period. But like, yeah, I'm extremely nostalgic. Like that's why I have friends with ISTJs. And I love like having like back in the days kind of conversation, like
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
cool.
Like you don't do that. You don't get nostalgic about things.
I do, but I think probably less. Like if it's less tangible for me than it seems for like SI users. Like I noticed that they like really like going back into the past. Like I like it for like 30 minutes and stuff, and then I'm like, okay, I need to do some shit now. Or
Well,
like I'll think about the future more, I think.
well, I'm still NE first, so the SI doesn't come out that often. It comes out
Yeah,
when
yeah.
it's a tool. It comes out when I need it, but it's not like I'm not like a pure. I'm not like an ISTJ. It's probably like having nostalgia every minute of the day.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Thanks for doing this interview. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we need more EJs to do the interview. So this is like really good that you like stepped up to this interview. We don't have enough male ENTJs either. Like you're like I don't even remember. Like maybe you're like the second ENTJ male that I've interviewed. I think like I don't even
I
remember.
think I think I'm like the second feminine TE EJ that they've ever had. And the first one is like I see him on personality Q&As, but he's not really in the community. He's like my type twin,
Oh
and
really?
so I might try and find him. Yeah,
Well, I know Alan Mokanu is like he's the first guy, the first ENTJ, like male that like was prominent in the group,
is
and
he double masculine?
he's double masculine. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So like besides from him, I haven't had a chance to talk to another male ENTJ, and I've interviewed zero like traditional ENTJ male, like the blast first ones. Like I haven't
Yeah,
like they don't like I don't know where they are. Maybe they don't care about their identity. Like maybe it's like the biggest like a really big problem area. I don't know. Because
it's possible.
I have not seen a single male blast first ENTJ in the group. Like zilch. You know.
Yeah, it's weird.
All right, Nick. Thanks again, and bye to you, and bye to everyone.
Bye. Thanks, Kendrick.